Welcome to Quick Shots, a short format traditional archery podcast, where we introduce you to some of the world's most influential traditional archers, and occasionally, some random dudes. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Quick Shots. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification. We upload a new episode every Wednesday, and they just keep getting better and better. If you or someone you know is an interesting trad archer, leave a comment below. We'd love to get you on the show. If you want to support the channel, head on over to the tradlifearchery.com. We have toques, we have hats, we have mugs, just a bunch of stuff over there. And anything you buy goes to support this channel. We do really appreciate it. In today's episode, I sit down for a chat with an amazing and brave archer, Nancylia Woods from Instagram. Check out her Instagram page. It is inspiring. You're going to love this episode. So without further ado, hit it. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Quick Shots. I'm your host, Mick Chambers, and we're here with Nancylia Woods. How you doing, Nan?
I'm good. Excited to be here. This is my first podcast.
Oh, that's awesome.
Ever.
Good. So I'm the very first. That's good.
Yeah.
So I follow you on Instagram, but I don't know if a lot of our my viewers or listeners actually do. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your origin story in traditional archery?
So about 8 years ago, 9 actually, I was set up on a blind date with my husband, Derek, and he was telling me his summer had consisted of some scouting and looking for deer sign, and he was going to go hunt deer with a recurve bow later on that month. I was never exposed to the outdoors growing up. I didn't know anything about archery, but I was like, wow, that sounds like an excellent time, but it sounds really hard. I want to go. So he set me up with a crossbow for that first season, which was like a month later. That was why we started there, start small. And then the following year, I moved into a compound, and I never had too much interest in traditional archery. I just looked at it as that looks really freaking hard. So I'm just going to do what I'm doing for right now. And so about 6 years in, I was going through some mental health issues. My mom and dad were losing their business. We had a pizza shop growing up and eventually a nightclub. And so I went to rehab for some behavioral health issues and mental health issues. And when I came out, I thought I want to revisit the traditional bow. So my husband helped me kind of get things sorted out. And I started with a low poundage bow. It was like 31 pounds. And I decided I wanted to get a bow built for me. So I had one built as a Thunder Child, but it was too heavy. I think it was like 52 pounds. So about a year and a half ago, I sold my Thunder Child and I bought the bow I currently have, which is 38 at 28. So a lot less.
Yes.
And, learned how to shoot it. I skipped over a whole bunch.
Sorry, what kind of bow is that you're shooting now?
A Zipper SXT recurve.
Okay, cool. Sorry to interrupt. So you got the
That's
Zipper.
okay. I actually skipped over a whole bunch of things. So let me back up to
For sure.
3 years ago from now. I hadn't moved here yet. I was still working at the family pizza shop, even though it was getting ready to sell. And I had just gotten out of rehab for the mental health issues. And like I said, I was new to the trad bow. So I went to ETAR, and my husband hooked me up with a course with Tom Klum, who is a level 4 archery coach. I'm sure you've heard of him, and Joel Turner.
Yep.
So after just spending a couple hours with these guys, shooting and stuff, I was like, wow, this feels so good, physically and mentally. And they actually had me hitting the target for once, because I was trying for a few months beforehand, but I wasn't doing too good with it. And then after that trip to ETAR,
that's such a great story. So, we try on this channel to emphasize how important it is to get a coach, and to hear you say that the top 2 coaches in pretty much for traditional in the United States. That's amazing that you got that level of coaching. So, and it comes out in your form too, to be honest with you now. Just watching you on Instagram and the stories that you post and the pictures of you shooting, the videos of you shooting, just fantastic form. How much do you equate your form that you're shooting now to, that coaching you got with Tom?
Damn near all of it.
Good.
all of it. I mean, they laid the foundation, and Tom and Joel were just so amazing. Tom would actually come up and explain everything from the wrist to the fingers and how everything kind of aligns. And Joel was there with the mental aspect of it. And that's really when I started to observe my own thoughts when it came to archery. So I would draw my bow and observe where my hand is, where my finger is, how much tension I'm pulling, and what my upper body is doing. And that's also where eventually I started to video myself shooting so that I could look at my form and kind of have an objective and subjective view of my own shooting. And eventually that kind of developed into my current form and shot process as a whole.
That's
So it
amazing.
really skyrocketed and changed my shooting in every way.
That's so cool. That's so cool to hear that. Hey, can you go back to talking a little bit about your recovery in rehab, and sort of what traditional archery means to you? I think it's an amazing story.
Thank you. Yeah, so like I said, I had picked up the traditional bow a few months before. It was actually during my mental health crisis, if you will. So about 6 months before I went to ETAR, and I was actually going to traditional leagues with my husband at that time during the winter. And him and his archery friends, who are not now friends of mine, and they're actually my mentors and things, they were trying to help me out with my aim and my form, everything about traditional archery. But we just weren't getting there. And I was also the problem too. Like I said, I was having a lot of life changes. Our pizza shop was closing. I was like, what am I going to do with my life? So when I got out of rehab, my husband one day was like, hey, let's take the bow out. And so I went into the yard, and I actually had to think about how to hold that bow, even though I had held it many, many times before. I had some seizures and things from my mental health episodes, so it really changed. It changed my brain chemistry, and it changed the way I thought and saw things. It changed everything for me, honestly. Part of the detoxing process of the anxiety medications were really severe, and I definitely died. So something like 16 seizures that I had during a 3-month process. So anywho, so I picked up the bow that summer, went to ETAR, and then it was like 2 months after I went to ETAR, I moved here. So suddenly I went from being a waitress and bar manager at this pizza shop to having all this free time on a homestead and land. And I didn't have any chickens or goats or pigs or anything at the time like I do now. This was all completely new to me. So I had just gotten into Instagramming a little bit, not with my current page, a sobriety page. I was reaching out and making connections with other people going through similar things, and how they put one foot in front of the other and continue to not only stay sober, but the recovery process, healing yourself, and just being a better person and dropping old behaviors. So I was online, and archery season began just a couple months in. So I started doing stories on my sobriety page about deer hunting. And then I realized, well, a lot of people are out there that seem to be interested in what I'm doing. Maybe I should start another page and focus a little bit more on traditional archery and homesteading, even though I had no idea what I was really doing. But it seemed like there were folks out there that were willing to give me advice and maybe some tips on everything from the bow to hunting to animals, and just kind of be there to support, and I would support them. And that's everything kind of ties in together. And even with the photography and the videography, I didn't do social media before I moved here. I didn't make videos. I didn't take pictures. But like I said, my brain chemistry had changed. So suddenly I was out in nature all the time, and everything was just so beautiful. And I would spend 20 minutes photographing, a butterfly, or half an hour trying to get a raindrop falling off of a leaf perfectly on the tip of my finger. I was just like, this is so cool. So everything just kind of tied in together.
That's such an amazing story, and such a, you're just, I mean, incredibly brave, to kind of share that with us, one, and to get through that, to survive that, and I think we're better for it. Obviously, we get to enjoy a lot of your stuff on Instagram. It's nice to see you shooting and stuff like that. Why don't you tell us a little bit? Can you back up just a little bit and talk about ETAR? I know a lot of people are interested. I mean, we didn't get a chance to go to ETAR this year, but I mean, that was kind of in the middle of all your going through that transition to traditional archery. So give us a little bit of background on ETAR and what that meant to you too.
Yeah. So all of my summers growing up and my entire life were spent back home, if you will, in Sicily during the summers. My family pizza shop, we would be open year round, 7 days a week, every holiday. But in the summer months, we would close and we would travel to Sicily to be with friends and family. And this included the first 5 years that I was with my husband up until 3 years ago. Every summer, I would go there with our son. And a couple of those times he'd come over for a few days or a week, but he would always go to ETAR with his friend Kevin and Aaron, and a couple other guys. And I would always hear how amazing it was, and they would go camping and all this cool stuff. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great and all. I'm at the beach. It's wonderful. But so like I said, things shifted with the family pizza shop and things, and I moved here. So I was like, well, why would I fly to Sicily in the summers? Well, let me back up. Not why. I no longer live that lifestyle to be able to afford to just not work for 2 or 3 months at a time,
Right.
and go to a foreign country and, hang out at the beach. That was no longer my life. So I said, well, I want to go, I want to go to ETAR. Like, okay, let's go. And like I said, this was when I first met Tom Plum. So I went and we set up to camp out for a couple of days, and our son came with us. And it was a big camping event, basically. Camp out and you go to these shoots, and there's, I don't know how many, I don't want to say how many, but tons of courses throughout. So let me back up a little bit here and cover a little bit of what ETAR is like, because I know there's a lot of interest in ETAR, but there's also a lot of hype about ETAR. Like I said, my husband was going there, and he would tell me how amazing it was and things. So it was the summer before I moved here, just a couple months before I moved here, I decided I was going to go to ETAR with them. And like I said, I was really new in the traditional archery. And so we went. It was my husband and I and our son Braylon, who was maybe like 6 at the time, our friend Kevin and his son, Aaron and his son. And so we went there. I didn't know what to expect. I just knew there was camping and food and archery. I honestly expected it to be like some sort of Woodstock kind of festival mixed in with some archery. And it kind of was. It kind of was, minus boozing and partying. But so they have all these courses set up. It's an old ski resort, right? So they have all these big hills. So basically they have a bunch of courses, individual courses. So you go with your group of friends, or you can meet up with others, and you go up to the first target and you all take turns shooting, and then you move on to the next one. And they are 3D targets all throughout the woods, like on nice trails, and there's creeks and water, and really cool, really nice setup. There's tons of vendors. I bought a quiver there that first year, a cell light quiver, still have it. But I got to meet also a lot of people in the traditional archery community that had they were vendors there that year, like I said, like Selway. So I met those guys and I was like, wow, they're really nice people. Or, other companies, which now, if you go on the Instagram and you type in traditional archery, when I was new, I was like, wow, I'm never going to be like these people. They know so much, but they're just humble, down to earth, cool people that just happen to have.
That's a good point. So, I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, it's so nice to hear you say that, because, man, I have met so many awesome people in trad archery. I mean, isn't it really a great community? I mean, I have never been to ETAR, so I'm like a ETAR virgin. The next time I go, I will be an ETAR virgin. And I don't know if there's a hazing for that? I don't know. Maybe there should be. But
Yeah.
is there? Do you know? Is there something that you got to get hazed in? I don't know. How many times have you been?
You'll have to go there and find out, I guess.
You can't tell stories outside of ETAR. What happens at ETAR stays at ETAR. Okay, I get
Yes.
it. I totally get it. But yeah, I can't wait to go. I'm excited to go. I think a lot of people that we know in common, and you know so many more people, but you know that subset of the people that you know, I know, are dying to get out there. I mean, obviously this year we couldn't go because of COVID, but next year that'll be sorted out. We will all end up in Pennsylvania at this festival, so I'm excited about that. So anyway, we're talking about you going to ETAR. You had a blast. You got to meet tons of vendors. What was your state like at that point? How you know, I know we're talking a lot about your rehab and stuff. I hope it's not uncomfortable, but it's very interesting. I think it's going to be
No,
interesting to our viewers because people. The problem with anxiety is that sometimes it's that quiet disease, right? And people don't know that they have it. They're suffering. They don't know about it. So it's very brave of you to kind of to talk about this. And I think that for me, I have a little bit of anxiety. People will be, Mick, you can get up in front of people, you can talk and stuff like that, and no problem. But I do have a little bit. I mean, not to the level that you did, obviously, but I find that archery for me has been cathartic, and it's really helped me. And it's nice to hear your. Sorry.
the thing with anxiety is it's not something that you really see from the outside.
Yeah.
You could be severely nervous right now, but that doesn't mean that someone on the outside looking at you will know this. I mean, there are physical manifestations of it, but a lot of it is in your mind. So yeah, the state I was in at ATAR, so I had been out of rehab for 3 months. And like I said, I was new to traditional archery, hadn't even moved here yet. So I was not yet a country girl, if you will. And so I was really, my hands were always clammy. I was nervous to talk to people. Wasn't too thrilled about having, being at an event where there was thousands of people around me. But it was very mellow. Everybody was very down to earth. They just very welcoming. Everybody would just go walk around the courses, shoot their bows. There's really great food there. There's actually some fire pits, and there's actually camping. You can actually camp on the grounds or away from it. But there's barbecues going all day long, and like I said, food vendors. Everyone's just
Hey,
so nice.
did they have bathrooms and showers there?
Yeah, it's an
Hey,
old ski
that's cool.
lodge. So
Oh, okay.
okay, me and the guys, at least the years I've gone, we always camp maybe like 10 minutes down the road at a campground. And there are showers and things like that there if you so desire to. But on the camp, on the, okay, so where the event is, you
Yeah.
can camp out there. And there's a limited amount of space, of course. And there are showers at the lodge. So,
Okay, cool. No,
yes.
I was just curious. It's all good. Just so you're at ETAR, you're enjoying yourself. How many times have you been to ETAR?
Twice. This year we went to Ski Tar, which was kind of the makeup event for the cancellation of Sawmill and ETAR.
And how was that?
Uh,
How was that event?
Good. It wasn't as large and filled with people like ETAR, but it was thrown together last minute. A lot of people were still on travel restrictions or fearful, But it was a nice event, quiet. It was quiet. They had a
Yeah.
canoe shoot for kids. You could actually get in the canoe and float around to various targets and shoot your bow out of it.
Really,
It was cool.
that's wicked cool.
Yeah, I just had to mention that. Yeah, that was really cool.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's cool. Do you got pictures
my
and stuff like that? Did you get a lot of good video and pictures and stuff of ski tire?
Yeah, I did. Yep, they're on my Instagram.
Okay, I don't think
Yeah, I know I made a highlight video what's that?
I don't think I've seen them, but that's cool. I'm interested in taking a look at those now. I'm gonna hit your Instagram and stalk those pictures or whatever. So that's cool. So you did ski tire this year. Um, so that's pretty amazing. Now I know you keep saying I moved here, but But honestly, I have background, and I think you're talking to me like we're talking that I know you a little bit. But honestly, maybe well, probably a lot of people don't know exactly where here is. You're actually a homesteader as well.
I am a homesteader. So I was in Western Pennsylvania
Yep.
until I moved here. This is Central Pennsylvania at the time. So even though my family's from Sicily, we went from Sicily to Brooklyn, New York to Western Pennsylvania, and my mom and dad opened up a pizza shop back in the early 90s, and that stayed open until 3 years ago, and we had also had a bar and nightclub. So I spent the majority of my life in Western Pennsylvania, living the town life and doing pizza shop and bar things. So this is about an hour and a half out in the woods.
Yeah,
Out
and it's my point was
from
like
there.
it's a homestead, right? And it's like
Yeah.
you have chickens and goats and what else you got there?
Yeah, I have two goats, Phoebe and Peanut. Phoebe is pregnant right now. I'm so excited. Obviously, I've never had a pregnant goat, but I have
That's
like
cool.
16 chickens and 3 pigs and a
Wow.
dog.
And a dog, yeah, and a dog.
None of that before I moved here, but
That's good. And you're so you're out in this homestead, and you picked up everything. You're on the road to recovery. You move out to this homestead. You're doing some traditional archery, and then it seemed to just kind of blow up for you a little bit in terms of your popularity. I mean, you have a very popular Instagram account, and like I said before, it's nice to see that you got coaching because your form, and I've heard this from other people too about you, is that your form is excellent. I mean, it's just incredible, and you're lights out shooting. So that's really cool. That's so cool. I mean, honestly, it's inspiring story for traditional archers, and just the sort of last thing on anxiety. It's tough. I mean, even for me again. So I can't imagine what it's like for you, but when I turn that camera on and I shoot, I want to put myself out there a little bit. It's not to be, hey, look at me shoot, I'm awesome. It's, hey, look at me shoot. What can you do for me? Like, can you help me out? Can you comment back to me and say, hey, Mick, fix this or do this? And I think you're kind of doing the same thing, although your shooting form is like 1,000 times better than mine. But would you agree? I mean, it's more about what the community
yeah,
can help you out with.
it's right. It's the community itself, because like I said, the community itself is so small, and even if the big names per se, if you will, like Tom Klum and all these, other businesses, they it's all one community. No one's better than another person. And what really helped me and really made me gravitate towards traditional archery and the whole online thing that I have done since is when I was at ETAR. Like I said, I met a lot of the guys at the vendors and women and things, and then I interacted with them afterwards on the internet. And Tom Klum, at one point, I was getting really comfortable with him talking. We were talking, and I was sharing with him a little bit about my story and why I was being a nervous Nancy and things. And at one point after a couple hours, he pulled me off to the side and just said some really nice things to me, and basically made me feel like I was a normal person. And he said something like, everybody has a past. You don't need to feel weird here.
Yeah.
And I just never forget it. And like I said, if it wasn't for that feeling of family friendship that I experienced at ETAR that summer, I
Yeah.
don't know if I would have been brave enough to take on something like I have now, an online social media account, doing things like this, because I would feel inferior, if you will. But I don't feel that way at all.
Good.
I
Good.
feel like I'm amongst my peers, very comfortable with them.
Yeah, you should. And I think some people like me even look at you and go, wow, we aspire to be, to do some of the things you do. I mean, literally, literally you are doing things that no one else is doing in the trad archery community. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that are interested in starting getting involved in trad archery. And I think that there's a bit of a renaissance right now of people getting into stick and string shooting, and I think that's really cool. But Nan, you've been there for a while now, and you're doing things that none of us are. Some of the things that most of us aren't doing, like you're hunting, right?
Yeah, I'm hunting.
Yeah, you're
I
hunting.
started hunting. Um, don't get me wrong, I was hunting with my husband before I moved here to the homestead, but it wasn't with a recurve, and it definitely was not by myself. I had a lot of, it was basically I'd gear up and he'd take me and be like, walk, 10 minutes that way and climb up in that stand. And I would do that. But when we moved here and I started using the recurve, he was working. So my options were don't hunt or get my ass out in the woods and, make it happen. And which he helped me a lot that first year. And our friend Kevin did too. They helped me. They basically gave me a lot of guidance. Okay, but in the 2 years since then, I've grown a lot, and now I do it all on my own. I still bother them a lot. I'll send them pictures and videos and be like, think about this. But I've grown. They've helped me really grow in figuring this all out and pulling up my big girl panties and just going out in the woods on my own. And it's such an empowering feeling to just suit up, get layered out, in your mind you're going to go out there with a wooden stick with a string to try to kill something, but you're also going to stalk it, climb up, you're going to climb up a tree and shoot it from the tree. As a woman, it makes me feel really good.
Yeah, and you should, because I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not gonna hunt the way you're gonna hunt. I'm not ever gonna hunt that way. You are in a, what you failed to mention is that you're climbing up in a tree with a saddle. So you're basically climbing the tree and then hanging from the tree and then shooting something from a tree. I have fixed tree stands, and I'm going to stick to that. I was talking to Jeff Kavanaugh the other day, and he said something really funny. It was hilarious. I said, so are you in tree stand? Do you take climbing sticks out and stuff like that? He goes, no. He says, I'm afraid of heights. He goes, I bought my man card at a discount store. So he's like,
he told me the same thing. The man card. Yep. He told me the same thing about that.
I know, right? I mean, so you were like, you're killing. My point is that you're killing it, and you're overly modest about how proficient you are as well. And it only takes a minute for someone to stop this video, go check you out, go follow you on Instagram, and actually see you shoot, and actually see you climb a tree, and actually see you have fun doing archery, which I love, right? I mean, that's the key. I don't. Tom Klum said the other day, I know we're dropping a lot of names here, but Tom said the other day is like, it's about the people you meet in archery, and him and I and
yeah,
and him and I and you, and I'm going to give you away a little bit here, haven't been tremendously successful this year hunting, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All that stuff you talked about at the very beginning about, getting out into nature and taking those pictures and being a videographer and photographer. I mean, you found a real niche. So that looks pretty cool. Your page looks really good.
Well, like you said, you gave me away. Not that it's a secret, but so this was my third archery season, and I was, in fact, as you said, unsuccessful in the sense that I did not bring any dead animals home, any dead deer. I did not make it happen. But when I look back at where I started a couple of seasons ago, the thing is, if I would have successfully killed a deer my first season, one of the first sits, would I still be here doing this? Would I have been like, oh, this is easy, and hung it up? Am I making sense? Probably not.
No, you are. No, you are. But on the reverse side of that, I want you to kind of go, here's the thing. Traditional archery is not easy, right? So sorry about my dog here. Yeah.
I was wondering, is that my dog?
No, that's my dog.
That's okay.
He gets excited during the middle of the day. Hey, but on the reverse side of that, if it were really easy, you would just hang it up and you move on to something else more exciting, right? But on the reverse side of that, It is difficult. It is tough, but you still got to stick it out. And that's what's amazing
And
about
that's why that's something also that has attracted me to it. And I didn't realize how hard it was my first season, I don't think, because like I said, I wasn't doing a lot of the groundwork on my own. I still had a lot of help and things. It wasn't until last year that I just said, okay, I'm just gonna do this on my own. But it's kept me coming back, and it is a struggle. And every time I let an arrow go, and it, misses, or whatever mishap goes on, that I don't bring it home, it hurts. It's really crushing. I know last year, the first doe, I wounded a doe last year, and it was the first thing I shot at with the traditional bow. And I remember letting the arrow go and seeing immediately that it hit really far back. And I remember hanging my bow up and just crouching down I was actually in my climber, and I cried. I felt crushed and disappointed in myself. And then, of course, I felt bad for the animal, but I felt like defeated. And, I left that day, and everyone in the chat, I shared it online, and everybody said to me the same things. It happens. Bad shots happen. You're new to this. Buck fever takes. So I felt a little more confident, and I went back out a few days later. But it was really challenging to get through that and get through it also mentally, and not let that keep me down and just hang the bow up and be done forever with the trad bow. Because I hear it often. Someone new will get into traditional archery, make a bad shot, and just be done with it forever. But you don't grow that way. And it's really helped me grow and connect with myself and just keep myself going and keep myself motivated.
Absolutely. Hey, okay. Well, this has been incredibly, I mean, I just want to go back and say, thank you very much, Nan, because you've been incredibly brave today, and it's interesting. Listen, again, I just want to emphasize, that there are lots of us struggling with anxiety, and some people call it target panic. That's just a small part of anxiety, right?
Absolutely.
Just even getting to the range and even shooting with people. And then I know being female, this seems like an all male sport. I'm hoping that that's changing. I'm hoping I'm being part of that change and helping people see people, awesome female archers like you, that are really role models, in my opinion. And then, you're talking about Tom saying, taking you aside and saying, hey, be yourself. We're all in this together, sort of thing. And which is a fantastic message. I mean, I just think that, it's not an all boy sport. And if you feel that way, and you're a woman listening to this, or even a man, and saying, help support the women that are in the sport. It's the future of the sport. We have to make sure that we have to make sure that, there's equal opportunity in the sport. And, we have to encourage people to join the sport. And whether that's young men or women, or women in your club, I mean, you're always supposed to be encouraging. And I think that's the traditional way. And let's make sure we keep it that way. So just really quick on that, how do you feel about being a role model? Because you
It's
are.
definitely, thank you. It's nothing I ever really saw coming or ever predicted that I would become. Like I said, I lived a very different lifestyle before I moved here. I definitely wasn't a bad person. I was just a different person, and I handled my anxiety and depression in different ways. I was very social, and I like noise. Now I just like silence. But and that's where I think that's also why I like traditional art. It's simple and quiet.
Yeah,
See
it
the
really does
city
help.
by.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, and so as a role model, what would you say to someone new coming into the sport? Like what's one piece of advice that you would give someone new coming into the traditional archery sport, or thinking about coming into traditional archery? How do you get them over the line to say, hey, come and try this?
I would say, I would be really honest. It's going to be really hard, but you're going to love it. Give it a chance, and just do some research read or watch some videos, different people, different archers, and don't commit to one way or to one person or to one podcast. Kind of feel it out. Because like you said earlier, there's so many variables. And then just my other suggestion would be, if you're going to do it, just dive in.
Yeah.
Start. It will. But the thing is, if you let it, it's going to consume your life. In a good way. In a good way.
You're almost talking me out of archery. It is. Hey, it's good advice, but it is a time sink. And I know if you don't have a lot of time, I don't want to scare people off, but if you don't have a lot of time, maybe traditional archery isn't your thing, because we practice. We don't just pick up the bow and just go out and do. I mean, we have to practice. I mean, it's fun to practice too, and it's fun. If you're going to target shoot, that's fine. You can pick up your bow and go anytime you want. If you want to hunt, you really got to practice. So, okay, thanks again for being so brave today and sharing your story with us. I mean, I'm blown away. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Where can people reach you?
I'm on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Nancylia Woods, Nancy and Leah.
Yeah. Good. Okay, and then we'll leave something in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. Make sure you give Nana a follow on Instagram. Don't forget to comment here and just leave her a little message. She'll check back hopefully and be able to answer some of your questions if you have any, or reach out to her on Instagram, obviously, and ask those questions. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone, for following along with us today. Really appreciate it. Until we talk again, take care.